how effective leadership can drive best value out of digital transformation. So I was actually reading this yesterday, and my son asked me, "That's a very, very long title for something you would be speaking about, mommy." So basically, what I responded to him was, there are three key words there in this sentence: effective leadership, value, and digital transformation. And I would be focusing on effective leadership in this session. So I'm Arpita Singhal. I'm a managing director at Alvarez and Marsal. I'm based in London, and I look at corporate transformation and digital as my key topics at A&M. So let's start with, what do we mean by effective leadership in the context of digital transformation, driving the best value out of those programs? So I think most of you would know what digital transformation is all about. Um, but let's understand where the impact sits. I think when we talk about digital transformation, we are talking beyond technology, people, processes, but where you touch the entire ecosystem in most cases. A big impact on the customer side for businesses that are going through digital transformation. There could be new target operating models, there could be new ways of working, there could be new revenue streams, there could be new efficiencies that are coming through those digital transformation programs that are being driven. So value has a different definition, and value has a different impact in those transformations. So, which means, as a leader, whoever is driving that digital transformation, to drive that value, you have to have a level of influence which is way beyond your direct level of authority in some cases. So you're dealing with multiple people, multiple stakeholders, teams, to get to that value, which is the core of the transformation program. How do we make it effective? How do we make the leadership as really effective and driving the best value out of those programs? So I'll focus on three things today and do a deep dive on those three elements. For me, I can summarize the leadership aspect of a digital program into three things. One, stakeholder management. Second, dealing with ambiguity. Three, um, influencing with positive impact. So what do I mean by all these things? So let's start with the first one, stakeholder management. Stakeholder management, is the entire stakeholder group, your team as a leader, your partners, your suppliers, your customers, your leadership, your execs, stakeholders, and so on. So there are multiple people who are involved in order to get to the right decision making, in order to get to the right delivery, in order to get to the right value impact, and so on. The change management aspects could be huge when it comes to programs like these. So how do you make it effective? I think the key things in order to make that stakeholder management as effective as possible is listening, understanding, aligning with your own team members, aligning with your key stakeholders, talking their language, making sure that they understand. There is a very popular saying that if you can summarize something to and explain something to a 5-year-old, then you have achieved the right impact. It's actually true, and I've tested it on my son. He's 8, and he can be smart now. So I have to be very careful when I test certain things with him. But the analogy is actually true. What it means is you should be you should be able to simplify things and land the messages, be it your team or be it your key stakeholders, in the right way, with the right words, and with the right impact. Now, how do you do that? Align with their motivation. Everybody has a different motivation, be it your team, be it your stakeholders, different leaders. They all are driving through their own motivation factors. They are all driving their own KPIs. The closer you align to that, the easier it would be to manage them. And before you do that, manage yourself. Are you in the depth of things that you're driving? Do you understand what exactly is the impact of certain decisions? Are you in the details? If you are, you would be confident in driving those discussions, in landing the messages correctly, in making sure your team is performing at their strength, not forgetting the weakness, but always performing at their strength. So I'll give you an example. I have a team where we have some people who are, extroverts, some people who are introverts. How do we make sure that those who are introverts are also showing their skills, are also performing at the right level? So we encourage with their strength. So one of the team member, for example, comes from a finance background, knows his numbers very well. So he should focus on the numbers because that's where the strength lies. And all the number driven things should come from him. And that's where, he can shine. He can make sure that he's relevant. So that's how I look at the team aspect. I think sometimes when it comes to stakeholder management, you could be a chameleon. So you need to make sure that you align with different types of personality, different cultures, different type of message landing, and so on. We live in this global world today, and it's very connected. But also, we share certain differences. So how do we land things in that model in the most effective way is the key. With that, so that's stakeholder management. If I move on to the next one, which is basically dealing with ambiguity. So I'll start with an example. Most of us, when we are driving home, walking home, or cycling home, or taking the public transport, basically we are, pretty clear with our route. And say, suppose there is a roadblock or some kind of a roadwork going on next to, next to your route, you would know where to go, you would know how to reach home, you have a goal in mind, and you would be able to reach home because you are aware of all the situations. That's where our comfort zone comes. And what happens is when you're in a program, you would have situations which are out of your comfort zone, and that happens more often than you think. So how do you align, how do you get ahead of the curve and make sure they do not derail you? Basically, preparation is the key. Try to play the scenarios as much as you can. What could happen and how would I react in those situations? At the same time, I think the key is don't forget the goal. There is always a solution somewhere. You just have to find that. You might not have the answer, somebody in the team might have the answer. As long as you are open minded and are focusing on the goal, you will find a solution. It's just the way, how you're looking for it, and you're not getting bogged down with all the negative aspect of things. So that's how, I would suggest dealing with the ambiguity would lead to effective leadership. The third one is actually, influencing with positive impact. What do I mean by that? So I'll give you an example. I once met with a stakeholder who was a very seasoned technical architect, had looked at multiple things. So basically I was there to help them with a uh, with a with a program, digital transformation program. This guy has attended a workshop and he was highly motivated to get some apps into the picture, to get teams working in DevOps mode, to get a lot of mobile stuff going on and so on. But I had looked at their technical architecture, and the building blocks were missing. So there was a lot of legacy lying around, systems which are not performing at the right level, things which would probably never make it to an app working efficiently with that kind of landscape. So I was trying to help him understand. How did I do that? I actually told him, when it's good to buy paintings. It's I would aspire to do that as well, but I need to get my house erected first and formed up. So I need to make sure that my base is there in place before I start putting the paintings, and that has to happen. The message landed, and we started talking about fixing the landscape and fixing the architecture with a very clear view of how all the other things will come into play. So I think what I'm trying to tell you is sometimes you have to influence with the goal in mind, with the view what would land with your stakeholder. This landed because the guy came from construction business. He got it. Similarly, you would have multiple such situations where you would look at your stakeholder. How do I explain this to them in the easiest way and land my message? So I'll give you another example. I was talking to a group of stakeholders, and they didn't understand technology. They didn't understand architecture. They didn't understand when we talk about legacy systems versus new apps and so on. So how do I land it? So I told them, when you buy a Lego kit, when you buy a fresh Lego kit, you know exactly what to fit where, because you get instruction booklet along with it. But when you actually look around in your house with all the Lego that you have collected over the years and try to build something, you have to find the right piece to fit at the right place. That's how it works with technology as well. If you're trying to pull different pieces together, you have to get them right, because you don't come with it doesn't come with an instruction manual. So it's a question of, how you are detailing certain things and how you're landing them. With that, I'll take a pause quickly and see if there are any questions that anybody has come up with. I don't know, Mariana, if you guys have captured anything, but I'll take a 30-second pause just to see if there is anything that anybody would like me to answer on these three things. Or if you guys have any question on any of this, please go ahead and mention them in the chat, and I'll try to look at that and respond. I am assuming there is nothing in there right now.
No, I think yeah, it's good to go.
Or if you guys have it. Sorry, I couldn't hear that, Mariana. What was that? I'm going to go with the assumption that there are no questions as such in the chat, or there is nothing burning that anybody would like to ask. So let's come back to what we have discussed so far. So in my eyes, I think Rick's message. Yep, I just read some of the comment. Chameleon as a leader, stakeholder management. I agree. You have to change. You have to adapt. You have to quickly make sure you're aligning with the stakeholder. So coming back to the three things where I started this discussion. So stakeholder management, dealing with ambiguity, and influencing with the right impact are the key to effective leadership. I think the other thing which I would quickly also cover in this is that is where leadership can help you. I think the key to the actual success is, how do you measure it? What is the way you are measuring that value that is aligned to a program? And value can have multiple definitions. The key here is, have you aligned that definition with the people who are involved in that? Are they all aligned to how that value is being measured, and how you're tracking that value? Plus, what is going to impact the different aspects of the value and can derail the realization of that? So when we say value, it could be, most of the time there's a number around it, but there could be soft factors which is also driving that value. Customer experience, can I measure it? But it's an important value driver. So I need to make sure that I'm aligned and my team is aligned around that. If I have a revenue uplift, I can obviously put a number around that, and I can always measure that. But team satisfaction, if that is a value that you're driving, or you are trying to get more supplier onboarding in some cases, so can I put a number there? Maybe, but I think it's an important element to make sure that you are actually having a view on that value. Sorry, guys, the light has gone off because I'm not moving. But I think from a value perspective, when you start a program, you need to really be clear on what exactly that is. What are the soft elements? What are the measurable elements? How you're going to measure them? Who's delivering that? Who's influencing that? Where the impact comes? Where the risks come? If the challenges come, what are your plan B, plan C, plan D? And how you're going to navigate around that. I'm not suggesting you should always have a plan C and plan D, but in some cases, it's worth having some aspect around that. So I think it's a question of how you're engaging with everybody, how you're landing, how you are measuring, and how you are actually delivering at the end of the day. With that, I think that's the stuff I wanted to cover in this session. I'll again go back to the questions and see if there is something there. Thank you for the Lego analogy. Dealing with ambiguity with non-natives in digital competency in driving business value transformation. I think the key here is, Mohammed, I'm reading your question. I think the way you would approach it is when you say non-natives in digital competency, I'm assuming people who are not up to date with technology. If that is the way the question is directed, I think the way you deal with it is keep it simple. Keep it simple when you're landing the message so that they understand the end goal you're trying to achieve rather than the process around it. Sometimes process is just a way to reach something, but when people understand the end goal, the process lands better. So always go with, what is the motivation this person has? How can I align their motivation to the program? Sometimes you will not have any alignment, then you'll have to find a way to basically get them onboarded. But the way to approach it is go simple, land the goal first, land the focus first, and then go around with process. Okay. I think then I have another question. How do you act in an environment where everything is clouded, when everybody makes matters very complicated, and that's the culture as well? You could be the torch bearer and keep it simple. Try to declutter that environment. Try to be that glue which actually brings things together, and try to be the one who can land the messages in the simplest way, which people understand. Because most likely what is going on is there's a communication gap. It's chaotic because people don't understand each other, or the language they're speaking is not simple enough. All you have to do is be that person who's driving that communication and making sure people are understanding each other. It will start to declutter things. Then you have any tips on motivating leaders management at a DevOps coach? I think play on strength. Most of the time you would have people who would probably be fairly technical. How do you make sure that they understand? What I've seen is in a lot of teams, they don't understand the holistic picture. What is important is people to understand the full picture and say, okay, this is the role I'm playing in achieving the overall goal that you have put together. Once they understand that, once they understand how their Lego piece fits the entire article you're building, then it works quite well. And then they always know what is the impact they're going to have if they remove themselves or they distance themselves. I think the time is over. So thank you, everybody, for listening to me. I enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed too.